bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to learn some more things. Well, everyone, my name is Jeff Diverter, and I work for the great company Pythian, and we have an amazing customer that I'm with today. Sara, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Sara, and I work for Thoughtworks. Thoughtworks is a tech consultancy that works across strategy, AI, and technology.
That's right, and Sara is going to do her very best. She had lost her voice, so if you get a little quiet, just lean on in, because the content is fantastic. When you learn some of the stuff that Thoughtworks has been able to do with AI and how they've corralled what I say is one of the hardest things in AI to solve for, that's the people. The technology is hard. Not as hard as getting people to use the cool stuff. But we started our relationship in helping you with your Google Workspace environment. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
Correct. She's a one-word answer. She'll say one word and I'll fill in the rest. So we've been partners for a really long time in helping not only with the enablement with Workspace, but also on the AI journey. Now, you started your journey at Thoughtworks about 10 years ago as somebody in the design team, correct? Ended up working for the CIO, so obviously not much of a go-getter, kind of sleeps and lays around, doesn't do much. And then was obviously entrusted with AI. Tell us a little bit about your role at Thoughtworks.
So for the past 3 years, I worked on several AI strategic initiatives. And my last role is head of knowledge management and productivity. So definitely AI has changed a lot of how people approach work.
So what I hope you find impressive today, in fact, maybe answers some questions that you've had as we've gone to the main keynotes or developer keynotes, and you see the amazing things happen on the screen. Behind the scenes, you're thinking to yourself, how do we get the people to do the things? And what you're going to see today is a great pattern to follow. So let's start with, as an AI company-wide journey, it's not just a collection of toys, is it? It's not, hey, here are all the new toys, have fun storming the castle. Move your reference, who's got it? Good. It's actually getting people to understand that this is here to help them in their transformation. Tell me about what that was like, just sort of extemporaneously about how do you get people on the board, on the mission?
So some people get excited with the new toys, some people get a little bit frustrated or scared, and nobody has enough time to learn. So I think the path to change management is to help people to find new sensible default, a better way to do things, reducing at maximum the friction. And it's easier said than done.
Well, it's easier said than done, and it's easier said than done in a company of a couple of hundred or even maybe a couple of thousand. 10,000? That's a lot.
10,000, and what makes it more complicated is the 30 years of knowledge management, so data stored, 47 offices in 18 countries, that mean different legislations and also different languages.
Yeah, has anybody worked on the knowledge management team or on records management in your organization and had to do that across country boundaries? I mean, just the legislations alone on who's allowed to see what and what we can store and what we can surface together. That alone is a big challenge. So amazing when we think about that. So when we think about building an AI-empowered company and culture, you guys went down the road and took some very deliberate steps. Well, let's start at the beginning of that. When you started to think about the strategy as an organization, how did you approach it?
I think Thoughtworks has a very decentralized culture. There are a lot of initiatives taking place and driven by different business functions. And it all, I think, at the edge of the chaos is where innovation happens. And some of the initiatives you see today are from different departments. And we try a bunch of things all the time, keep what sticks and leave the rest.
So in working with Pythian, I'm a field CTO, which means I get to get out and talk to companies all around the country about how to go on this journey. And I'm absolutely taking the line you just said, and that is, at the edge of the chaos is where innovation happens. And what gets interesting is, how do you take that chaos and turn it into something that's repeatable and something that you can actually transform with? So I love this idea of y'all's, and that is the Data and AI Festival. Tell me all about that.
I think all of you know how difficult it is to stay updated with the latest technology. Like up to a few years ago, you could read once a week and you'd read everything you know. Today, updates are daily. So we wanted to sort of crowdsource the learning experience. So every year we spend several days running the Data and AI Festival, and everyone in Thoughtworks, from the grad to the C-level, they can apply and share their talks, share what they're learning, demo the work that they've done, and they get the spotlight on. Everything's recorded, so if people can join the call, that becomes a huge database of learning that can be leveraged for the entire year. And people take great pride in participating in the initiative. The quality is extraordinary, and there are a lot of criteria that we take on who actually gets on sharing their knowledge. And this is great to learn, to teach people to unlearn the old ways and take up the new ones.
This is fantastic. So it's a big show and tell in some ways. So it's an organization as an individual, again, from what's happening in the C-level down to much lower as an individual contributor. It's a chance to say, hey, look, here's a place where I learned something. Or to say, look, here's a gem I created and it's saving me some time. Here's how I crafted the prompt. Here's how it fits into my day. So it's this communal ability to bring this knowledge together on an even playing field. So we've been using the phrase from the C-level down to the individual contributor, and that is huge because it levels the AI playing field. It levels the learning playing field, and it takes away this position of, oh, there's the smart people that I have to go learn from. Because one of the things you'll also hear as we go through our time here today is that AI is in an iterative or an incremental progression. And that includes not just the technology you adopt, but how you adopt it. And leveling the playing field like that is a way to allow people to earnestly just look over somebody else's shoulder and look at the power and the capabilities that they created. And that leads into the next thing that you did, and that was not only how do we learn together, but how do we grow as an organization with core capabilities. Tell me about the hackathon.
I know a lot of companies do hackathons now, and we've been doing that for several years. So I won't share the basics, but I'll share what I think we do a little bit differently. So the hackathon don't happen only as part of the IT department, but actually we get all the business function involved, like from marketing to sales, finance, and some of their people become the product owners. So they submit use cases. We have criteria like impact and feasibility, pick up the best use cases, and then we reshuffle all our teams and get powerful teams that 4 days work on that use case. So what happens is that at the end there is a winner. But the interesting part is that C-levels directly are part of the judges. And we also partner with Pythian and Google for the last few. For example, when we wanted to launch Gemini Enterprise, it was the called agent spaces. We, just ahead of the pilot, we did a huge hackathon, and it was a great opportunity to train the people with something in mind, the hackathon. And I think one of the biggest achievements we got is that something that was created in the hackathon with Gemini Enterprise, actually, it became one of our first multi-agent system in production, that is a talent marketplace. As a consultancy, you can imagine how important for us is to have the right people on the right project. And before it was done only by human, was now it's fully augmented with recommendations based on profile through AI.
That's an amazing story. So I'm going to keep recapping because you need to know this pattern. The pattern is 1, do have a technology choice made. 2, make sure that there is a strong focus on how do you bring people along on this journey. Otherwise, the technology fails. 3, I was trying to remember what number I was on, level the playing field for knowledge. It's not, the fancy C levels are no better, no worse than individual contributors from a knowledge sharing point of view. And then 4, we're on 4. Healthy competition. Who doesn't love a little healthy competition? Because it drives amazing outcomes, gets people invested in it, and nobody loses their job. You just do have a winner in the process, which is great. And you end up with, when you are staffing for a project and you have 10,000 or so people to choose from, being able to make that and staff that with the highest quality talent every time is a direct impact on the quality of the work and the outcome for the customer.
And the biggest outcome is that we have hundreds of employees that participate to the hackathon that learn the capability, learn the new technology.
Here's a question. So and I'm going to double click on that, when people join up or raise their hand to be a part of the hackathon, do they have to be deeply technical? Or do they get to stand side by side and work shoulder to shoulder with somebody who is technical and learn?
So we have every role participating in the hackathons, from the SMEs to the business owners, and then cross-functional teams. So everyone has a place, especially now with a no-code tool. That's even more empowering.
So if you're taking notes, and you should, well, you don't have to be. Fifth thing here is it's not an IT activity. It's an all organization. Subject matter experts, the technology people, the data people, leadership who understand this end to end are all part of the hackathon. All right, next slide. So driving measurable impacts with AI. You've already heard one example, and that is out of the hackathon became the staffing model, which is fully agentic running inside of Gemini Enterprise. Pretty amazing. But you can also look at it in different layers of business impact. And to start with that, let's talk about individual productivity. So how is it impacting there?
So everyone that ever tried to measure individual productivity knows that it's a nightmare. It's extremely, extremely difficult. So the way I want to talk about it is more about the incredible change and undeniable behavioral change. So even just a couple of years ago, I had to get someone on my call to take notes so I could fully participate. Or I had to read a very long document if someone had shared that with me. These things are completely changed, and those save hours and hours every day. So finding things, it used to be to take up to 3 to 5 hours per employees. Those are generic stats. And now with enterprise search, it's in minutes. Creating and adapt content with GenAI is no longer an issue. Imagine, for example, we have a lot of client stories. Sometimes we have to sanitize them, so take away the data. That would have taken a few hours. Now it's, again, minutes. So starting from an existing proposal and readapting. So reusability of the content is critical. And then AI assistance. So how much time do you spend onboarding someone on a new tool, a new product, and you have to spend time together? Well, now you can just build an assistant and it becomes self-serve, and then if they need some help, they'll reach out. And finally, agents, so augmented capabilities and flows that run themselves. So actually, 1 million hours saved is a fairly conservative estimate. It's just like 2.5 hours per employees, but this is just the beginning.
Truly just the beginning. And you're really solving for two things when you're doing this. You're solving for saving the time, your million hours, that is tangible, that's real. It does another thing. The next thing it does is it just makes the individual worker's job so much better. You don't have to do 3 hours of homework for a 30-minute meeting. And then the third piece, which a lot of companies aren't really paying attention to yet, is the job satisfaction drives employee retention. Because if I had to go work somewhere else that didn't have these tools, I would think twice about it, even if there was a moderate bump in salary. If I had to go back to doing it the way I did it a year ago, no way, Jose. All right, so people transformation. Let's talk about IT transformation.
So how we started our journey was, again, internally in the IT department. So this was, we ran some initiatives where we had a lot of data. I know a lot of companies probably start from there with automation, for example, ticket support. So ticket support is exactly where we started, and we find out that actually amongst 20,000 tickets that were raised, a 10% was no touch. It could be solved just with one answer, because they were so simple. With AI, they just went away. And we also decreased time up to 50%. That's hugely impressive. Again, if you think that we are fully distributed and maybe you need to speak with a human that is in a different time zone, that adds up a lot of time. So part of the transformation is efficiency, but also keeping an eye on the experience. So improving the user experience while you're also improving the efficiency. Another couple of examples are license rotation and laptop replacement. Again, we have a lot of consultants spread across the world, and they use different software based on what project they're working on. So instead of buying licenses for everyone all the time, we rotate licenses that are unused. And we have only automated a few titles, a few licenses, and we were already able to save a few hundred K. Small project, big return, and a lot of like a use case, a flagship case to show to some other function that would want to do something similar. And the same we did with laptop replacement. It took a lot of human labor to ensure that we could replace every 3-4 years all the laptop from our people. And today they can just engage with a G-chart, and the process is automated.
So, think about it when you break out your agent design surface and you think, maybe I could save a couple $100,000 today. Wouldn't that be amazing? And an organization of your size, there's tens and twenties and hundreds and thousands of opportunities there to run more efficiently. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how it's transforming business. And we have less than 5 minutes, so we're gonna pay attention to our timing.
So something that we had the sales function with was not to start from zero. So again, when we speak to clients or have to create a proposal, rather than starting from zero, you now have agents that can do the heavy lifting and get you to a 60-90% of the job. So actually the consultant can focus on the last mile, the personalization, and they are sure that they are using basically the entire knowledge, the best of both that goes to every client.
That's amazing. Being able to bring all that together. And then lastly, kind of the icing on the top is that layer of all of the corporate knowledge that exists. How does an individual consultant understand and be able to glean all of that? In the old days, that'd be really hard, but because of the work in knowledge management and curation, you guys have been able to solve for that.
Exactly. And we call some of that an enterprise brain. We have built pockets of highly curated content that includes some of our case studies and technical implementation. So those can be resurfaced when someone is running a proposal. And what happens is not only efficiency that's very critical because you don't start from zero, but it's also consistency of the result. So it doesn't matter if it's a grad or if it's a principal that start the proposal, they're going to start from a similar output. And that's quite impressive.
It's impressive because it makes the person's job so much easier. It creates consistency regardless of who is starting the role, and not just consistency in what they get, but consistency in what the customer experience is, and not just consistency, but the best of what the organization has to bring, which is so powerful. And this is the type of work that most organizations really struggle with. You'll work on data readiness, and you'll think about it in that structured space. How can I get my data warehouses and data lakehouses prettier and more efficient? But the unstructured data, which is what we're talking about here, is really hard to curate. And now you have autonomous agents that know how to do that.
Yeah, a few months ago we launched something that we call agentic content modernization. So we have agents that scan our knowledge base, and they help us to identify duplications. They help us to remove content that is outdated, and also surface new content that's interesting that should go into our critical curated assets. So what this does is ultimately to improve the quality of the outputs and also reduce hallucinations. So this is basically a controlled loop.
And what we've done is we've taken you on this journey from, hey, how do we choose a technology? How do we get people excited about this? How do we bring them together? How do we start creating as a community different types of AI solutions, be it prompts, be it gems, be it agents, and turn it into something that even starts to operate autonomously, so that the new world of folks working there is less about the doing and more about the managing of your agentic world and the things you get to function there. Now, we've taken you on a pretty quick journey across 19 minutes. What was the very first production AI gem prompt agent? Because I'm guessing it wasn't something so fancy as an autonomous knowledge management tool.
I think the first one we built was a simple way to create comms that were in line with our brand and structure.
Yeah, simple research type of a prompt. So don't think that you have to start here. This is where you should aim, but it's not where you start. So let's talk super fast. You have 30 seconds to talk about how we govern this opportunity.
The way we govern this is that we revisit how we govern it every 6 months, because there is a lot of tension. If there isn't tension between the innovation and the governance, you're not pushing fast enough.
I love the thought about the tension. That's awesome. So you've been on an amazing journey. You've been there for 10 years, the last 3 focused on this AI adventure. How about one piece of advice for the audience?
I'll quote the sentence that our CAI officer shared during the last festival that said that we are the bottleneck. It's never been easier to do a lot of the things that we've always wanted to do, as now we should take our chance.
She just called you guys the bottleneck. Well, that's really kind of true.
I didn't, was a CAI officer.
Everyone, thank you so much. I'm Jeff Diverter with Pythian. This is Sara from Thoughtworks. Hope you enjoy the rest of the show and get home safe.
Thank you.